All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A teacher uses stickers as reinforcement for completing assignments. Initially, the stickers are highly motivating, but after several weeks, the students show less interest in earning stickers and their assignment completion rates drop. What concept does this scenario illustrate relative to the reinforcement? So we have a concept question, which is essentially asking you for the term that is demonstrated in the scenario. And we're looking for the concept relative to the reinforcement. So we're going to focus here on the reinforcement. We know the teacher uses stickers as reinforcement. Initially, they're highly motivating, but after several weeks, the students are showing less interest in earning stickers, and the stickers have lost their reinforcing properties because assignment completion rates are dropping. So the main takeaway is the kids are no longer, or students are no longer interested in these stickers. Now, why might that occur? Why might we have a situation where we have a previously effective reinforcer suddenly lose its value? Well, if we're thinking about motivation, what we're going to consider is deprivation and satiation. And when you're satiated on something, it means you've gotten too much of something. The value of that thing has gone down. So since these students are no longer showing interest in stickers, the motivation to earn stickers have gone down, we can assume that A, reinforcer satiation has occurred. Deprivation is the opposite. Not enough of something has been provided. If we look at B, because we read all of our answer choices every time, reinforcer magnitude, the magnitude of the reinforcer is typically the amount, or the intensity of the reinforcer. That's not necessarily the issue. The students don't want to earn stickers at all. It doesn't matter how few or how many. C, extinction. Well, the teacher is not using extinction, right? And the question is asking about the concept relative to the reinforcement. What we know about the reinforcement is the students are no longer interested in working for the stickers. And then D, punishment. There's no punishment procedure happening. Simply, the students don't want to earn the stickers. So they're not completing their assignments anymore because there's no motivation to. If their reward is a sticker, they're not motivated to complete their assignments. What has likely happened, given the information, is reinforcer satiation. Lauren was taught how to follow two-step instructions by her behavior therapist. After mastering this skill in a clinical setting, Lauren is now following two-step instructions from her teachers and parents as well. What is most demonstrated by Lauren's behavior? So we're looking at Lauren's behavior specifically. And what is most demonstrated, right? We want the best, strongest answer. What do we know about Lauren? We know Lauren was taught to follow two-step instructions in a clinical setting. So she was taught how to do this behavior in a controlled environment. Now she can follow two-step instructions from teachers and parents as well. So let's think about that. If her behavior therapist is a stimulus, and then her teachers are the stimulus, and the parents are the stimulus, and all three can reliably evoke the response of following two-step instructions, what are we going to call that? A, stimulus generalization. Sure, stimulus generalization occurs when a response is evoked or takes place in the presence of multiple stimuli. Two-step instructions is taking place in the presence of a behavior therapist, in the presence of a teacher, and the presence of the parents. So Lauren is demonstrating stimulus generalization. Response generalization is the opposite, right? We have a stimulus that is evoking different types of responses. Negative reinforcement, we're not necessarily looking at reinforcement, right? Because we're looking at Lauren's behavior, not necessarily a consequence. And same with non-contingent reinforcement. We're not looking at the antecedent other than who is giving the instruction, which are teachers and clinic and behavior therapists and parents. So non-contingent reinforcement isn't relevant either. What is demonstrated most by Lauren's behavior is the idea of stimulus generalization. A behavior analyst is trying to reduce a child's whining behavior, which was previously reinforced on a VR7 schedule. After implementing an extinction procedure, the child continues whining for several weeks before the behavior finally decreases. What effect might be occurring due to the intermittent reinforcement schedule? So this is a more difficult question, and it's a term that you may not have heard. It's technically a behavior analyst term, but we wanted to cover it because we're trying to increase our knowledge base. Now let's think about what we know as far as extinction goes. When we use extinction, we are withholding reinforcement for a previously reinforced behavior. And what we expect to happen during extinction is we have behavior, we have extinction, we have our extinction burst where behavior increases, and then behavior goes down. So this is our extinction right here, no longer giving reinforcement. Our extinction burst is the temporary increase in behavior. Our spontaneous recovery is once extinction has been effective, that behavior can suddenly come back. And then resurgence is just another form of spontaneous recovery. So, what is the case when we have a behavior that is reinforced on a VR7 schedule, so a very thin schedule, a very intermittent schedule, and extinction is just not effective? In this case, the child whined for several weeks. So, we're doing extinction, and that behavior continues for several weeks. Well, in this case, there is some serious resistance to extinction occurring. Resistance to extinction occurs when a behavior continues despite extinction going on. The difference between resistance to extinction and the extinction burst is the extinction burst is a predictable increase in the behavior. Resistance to extinction is just the behavior continues. Doesn't mean it increased, it just continues. And the more intermittent the reinforcement schedule, the thinner the reinforcement schedule, the stronger resistance to extinction is likely to be because it's much harder to withhold reinforcement for a behavior that does not receive a lot of opportunities to get reinforcement. And so in this case, if we have a behavior on a very thin schedule that does not want to respond to extinction, then likely what's occurring is B, resistance to extinction. Tom is assigned 2 math worksheets each night for homework. Tom's mom tells him that if he does one full worksheet and gets them all correct within 20 minutes, then he doesn't have to do the other worksheet at all. Tom starts completing one full worksheet consistently after this. What consequence was used? So we have a consequence question. With consequence questions, we have to ask, did the behavior increase or decrease? If the behavior increased, it's going to be a reinforcement. If it decreased, it's punishment or extinction. In this case, we're looking at Tom, who has to do math worksheets. We know, after all was said and done, Tom started completing a full worksheet consistently. So it appears the behavior is increased. It appears to be reinforcement. Well, what was the consequence? Tom's mom said, do one full worksheet in 20 minutes, and then you can escape the other worksheet. She has removed the demand or allowed the escape or avoidance of the other worksheet. So when we have a consequence that leads to escape or avoidance or the removal of a demand, what do we call that? A, positive punishment. Well, two things, right? First is we have decided this was reinforcement because Tom's behavior has increased. So it can't be punishment. Two, it's not positive because Tom is allowed to escape. Demand for doing the second worksheet has been removed. If we look at B, negative punishment, it is negative because there's been a removal as a consequence, but it's not punishment. If we look at C, positive reinforcement, it is reinforcement. The behavior did increase, but it isn't positive because Tom escaped. Escape avoidance is associated with negative reinforcement. Tom, by doing one full worksheet, escaped having to, or avoided having to do the other worksheet at all. So the consequence that was used was D, negative reinforcement. A behavior technician completes a session where a client successfully increased their use of a communication device to request items. The technician writes in the session notes, the client used the device 15 times to request preferred items during a 30-minute activity. Prompting was reduced to a minimum level. Caregiver was informed about the session outcomes. What should also be included in this note? When we are thinking about session notes, we have to do them after every session. They need to be clear, objective, and as complete as possible. These are not necessarily the time to just give your opinion on what happened. We want to be as precise as possible. In this session note, we're talking about the use of a communication device to request items. The technician described the behavior with data and time frame, talked about reducing prompts, and informed the caregiver. Overall, this looks pretty good. Should anything else be included? A more objective explanation of what took place. Well, this was very objective. 15 times, 30-minute activity, prompting reduced, caregiver informed. That is about as objective and fact-based as it gets. It's hard to be more objective than that. What about B, a more data-driven explanation of what took place? Well, we're given data, right? We know how often the device was used, and we know how long the activity was. So that gives us a good sense of what occurred. What about C, a more subjective explanation of what took place? Well, we don't want a more subjective explanation because then we're just entering into what we would consider opinion territory. And we want to be fact-based. We want to be data-driven. So in all honesty, this note is rather good. What should be included? Well, D, none of the above. This is a pretty good note. Thanks for watching. Please check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Please subscribe. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.